is that these are white Christians.
A discussion, obviously, it is Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yeah, okay.
He had a dream. And I think LANK was one of the closest we have had to potentially that dream coming to fruition.
That's right.
So let's realize that as we look around, that we're maybe more close than we've ever been.
Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following. Because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses and losses. And he said the following. They see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country.
So I, like most of you, saw this clip yesterday of Pat McAfee, where he was referencing MLK Jr. and Alabama's LANK motto that they were using this year for college football. Let all naysayers know, and it was just a motivational thing that Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time, even though I'm a Gator, I can acknowledge that, came up with, and apparently that's what they ran with. Didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to. But all that aside, it's pretty clear that Pat McAfee tying that to MLK Day was generally seen as weird, and I'm not the only one that thought so. But if you listen to everything he says, it makes a little more sense.
A discussion, obviously, it is Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yeah, okay.
He had a dream. And I think LANK was one of the closest we have had to potentially that dream coming to fruition.
That's right.
So let's realize that as we look around, that we're maybe more close than we've ever been. And there's an election about to take place next year where we need to remember that we are more close than we've ever been. And people could potentially try to drive us apart from the outside looking in. Now, as somebody who was canceled by both parties last week, both of them canceled me.
Impressive.
Thank you.
Two
Political parties canceled me last week. We are still alive. Let's remember, we don't need all the outside noise. All we need is a little bit of love, which is what we have for all of the people that have good intentions every single day whenever they wake up, just like us. Now, with that being said, football's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Now, you may still think to yourself, okay, this is still just a little weird. McAfee's point is we're more connected and closer racially than we've ever been. It gets better every single day. I know a lot of people don't want to believe that because maybe there's money to be made in being racially divisive. There are people out there who will divide us for money and say things just to cause chaos and nonsense. And he's right about that. How do I know that? Well, because yesterday when Donald Trump was romping in the Iowa caucuses, Joy Reid was on MSNBC saying that it doesn't really matter because it's just a bunch of white people in Iowa. This is exactly what McAfee was talking about.
But, you know, I feel like the important sort of data point, and you know, Steve talks about it a lot, he's going to probably talk about it a little more tonight, is that these are white Christians. That this is a state that is overrepresented by white Christians that are going to participate in these caucuses, especially tonight. Earlier today, reached out to Robbie Jones from the Public Religion Research Institute, knowing that we were going to talk about Iowa. And this is a hyper-evangelical white state. And he said the following to me. Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following. Because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses and losses. And he said the following. They see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about, you know, what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American, is a less real American. Then you don't care about electability.
Now, Joy Reid is the race lady, the worst person on cable news, the dumbest person to ever have a job in that industry. All those things are true, but she also has a lot of people in this country who believe her and agree with her and think that it's completely okay to say these things. And all I'm going to do is ask you a very simple question. What if we were having this conversation and instead of Joy Reid, it was Sean Hannity? And instead of talking about all the white evangelicals in Iowa, being dismissed. We should dismiss all of the black Muslims in Michigan. Would the American media find that to be an okay thing to say? Or would they invoke Martin Luther King Jr. and talk about, well, we should be judging people on the content of their character, their decisions they make, etc., not judging them solely on their race? And I think the answer to that is that's exactly what we'd be hearing. And Pat McAfee actually got it 100% right. There are people in this country that will divide us and attempt to divide us for their own personal benefit. And Joy Reid is one of those people.